Hello again. Welcome back to Get Your Mind Right. I am Dr. J. Lorraine, and today we will continue on the seven pillars of wisdom. We have already covered knowledge and understanding and prudence, and today we're going to talk about discipline and instruction. Now, discipline means to impose order, to train your mind or your body to produce a specific mindset or behavior, to take heed to God's instructions, His standards, His precepts, and His laws. Now, going back to the New Testament, when we read about Christ's disciples, the base of that word is discipline. And the disciples disciplined themselves after rabbis or Jesus' instructions. And that's what we are to do if we are going to live a happy life, a life of peace and prosperity. And when I say prosperity, I mean in the most intrinsic ways, where you lay down in peace and you rise up in peace, and that all your needs are met according to God's goodness and His glory. So, without instruction, we're lost. Many people have no idea why they are here, what their specific instructions are. We're going to move in that direction where you will know how to discern or how to get in the path or on the path that God has created for you and not reject it. Some of us know and we reject it because we're afraid. But perfect love casts out all fear. And fear is really about false expectations. You're afraid of something that hasn't even happened. So we want to build our trust and our faith in God. And we want God to trust us. And that's very important that He trusts you. We always talk about trusting God, but it is wise to posture or get ourselves in a position where He trusts us. He trusts us with His mysteries. He trusts us with His heart. He trusts us over His people. So this whole journey, I don't know how long I will be taping, but my goal is for us to draw nearer unto God, and this is my way of sowing seeds into His kingdom. So we're going to go to Proverbs, and Proverbs says, this is Proverbs 8:33, starting with 8:33. Hear instruction and be wise, and refuse it not. Blessed is the man that heareth me, watching daily at my gates, waiting at the post of my doors. For whosoever find me find life, and shall obtain favor of Jehovah. But he that sinneth against me wrongeth his own soul. All they that hate me love death. He who refuses or ignores instruction and correction despises himself, but he who heeds reproof gets understanding. The reverent and the worshipful fear of the Lord brings instruction in wisdom, and humility comes before honor. It is a fool that will not take instruction. It doesn't matter how old a person may be. If wisdom is coming forth, then count that as wise. Even ants, we can learn from nature. When you get to the point where nobody can tell you anything, that you walk in the path of a fool in his folly, and destruction is at that end. Even kings take counsel. Matter of fact, Jehovah God took counsel with Moses on many occasions. So even God takes counsel. So who are we not to take sound counsel, godly wisdom and godly counsel? Now, the importance of discipline is to set structure in your life. We've said, or I've heard on many occasions, well, the spirit is weak. Well, the flesh is weak, but the spirit is willing. Let me correct that. Your flesh is weak because you have not fed your spirit with God's instruction, and his word is his instruction. We can't avoid it. It's amazing how we can discipline ourselves to go to church every week, sometimes twice a week on Sundays and Mondays, but we can't discipline ourselves to get in the word daily, to walk with God daily, because the word is alive. God is his word. His word is him. So learning to walk with him and to develop relationship before you even hear his voice. You hear his voice through his word. You begin to get to know him through his word. And then your relationship will develop and will grow. If we despise instruction, then destruction is soon to follow. Now, let's take Solomon, King Solomon, the wisest man that ever was and ever would be. And as wise as he was, as magnificent as he was, when he did not follow God's instruction, it caused a nation to be divided. It caused him to lose his throne. Now, Proverbs 5:23 says, he shall die without instruction, and in the greatness of his folly he should go away. Now, in Deuteronomy, when God was giving Moses instructions for the children to carry out, the children of Israel to carry out once they came into the promised land, these instructions or these precepts or laws were to be handed down throughout the generations. And this is where Solomon made a misstep and lost everything. I mean, when God said he was the wisest man. But even being wise, we still have to guard our heart and keep instructions before our eyes. This is what the word says. But he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he should multiply horses. For as much as the Lord hath said unto you, you shall not henceforth return no more that way. Well, when Solomon began to build the temple for Jehovah, he got an affinity with Egypt. An affinity means a marriage contract. He took Pharaoh's daughter as wife. That was strictly against the instructions that were given. Neither shall, I'm going back to Deuteronomy, this is Deuteronomy 17:17. Neither shall he multiply wives to himself, that his heart turn away, neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold. And it shall be, when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this law in a book out of that which is before the priests and the Levites. And it shall be with him, and he shall read therein all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear the Lord his God, and to keep all the words of this law and these statutes, to do them. Now, the night of their wedding feast, Pharaoh's daughter pretty much planned the whole evening of events. Now, Egypt always served many gods. So, she had 1,000 instruments come in, and each instrument was dedicated to a particular god. And as the musician played, they would call out that god's name at the wedding feast. She had a tapestry made to mimic or duplicate the night sky, and the stars were made from precious gems and jewels. So Solomon, full of wine, failed to get up that next morning and read the Torah. This is what a king did every morning. He got up, he went to his throne, and he called for the reading of the Torah, or he read the Torah. Well, that didn't happen that morning. The servants, or those that the king surrounded himself with, was afraid to wake him up. It got later and later in the day. Solomon slept with the keys to the kingdom, to the temple, under his pillow. And so they were afraid to wake him so they can get up and start with the morning sacrifices and the morning prayers. So Bathsheba, his mother, was called in to go and wake her sons. Everybody else was afraid to wake the king, so they called for his mother. And she came in and aroused him and got him back to read to the temple. Now, in Proverbs 31, when the mother is talking to the king, that's actually Bathsheba, and Lemuel refers to as King Solomon. So he went astray the very first night he got married to this strange woman, and he took many wives. Let me see if I can get First Kings. He took many wives and had many strange wives, and he built temples for their strange gods. That's how far away the wisest man got from his instructions, until these going after these strange women, or going after the strange, caused him to leave Jehovah, and it tore the kingdom in half. Actually, not in half. It was just Judah and Israel, and one tribe lived on one side and 11 on the other. But because he moved away, or got away from the discipline of hearing God's instruction and obeying God's instruction, it was his downfall and the downfall of the nation, because he introduced Chemosh to Israel. And Chemosh was the god of the Ammonites and the Moabites. And Chemosh went by several names: Milcom, Chemosh, Baal-zebub, Baal-por. They're also associated with Saturn and Mars. And these particular religions or cults or gods, they required the sacrifice of children, and they would pass those children through the fire as a sacrifice to their gods. And also, he built groves for Ashereth. Now, Ashereth was a sex cult, and in the groves, or they call them groves in valley, they would take trees, no limbs, just trees, and carve pictures of this deity in there, and they would go in those fields or in those groves, and sex was a part of the sacrifice in the cult. They also was a cult that used divination and fortune telling. So he had gotten so far away from Jehovah's instructions until he brought damnation up for himself and his people. So forget not his instructions. Bind them around your neck. Let every day you get up and read the word. I don't care if it's one scripture, one book, but follow his instructions and not be led away by strange women or strange men from that matter. So, again, instruction and discipline is a pillar, a post to set up your house, to stay clean. And thank you for joining me. I hope this helps. I hope that it was informative. And remember, get your mind right. Have a wonderful week.